Okay, let's just jump right into this explainer. If you're a developer, an investor, or really anyone holding a stake in today's commercial real estate market, you've probably had at least one conversation recently about modular construction. It's one of those sectors that constantly sparks optimism, mainly because the theoretical benefits are just so undeniable. But as we're going to see, it also attracts its fair share of real-world difficulties. So today we're covering the long arc of U.S. modular construction, the distinct business models shaping its future, and exactly why mastering the entire delivery chain is absolutely crucial to unlocking its real potential.
Now, this comprehensive industry analysis is brought to you by MANGAL Modular Construction. As we map out the market today, you're going to see exactly why a partner with real production depth and a differentiated, full-stack project delivery model is pretty much essential for modern development. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the roots of modular, move into the execution challenge, break down the current market landscape, look closely at MANGAL's integrated delivery model, and finally, talk about the future of project delivery.
All right, Part 1, the roots of modular, a deep historical foundation.
So the idea of parallel processing in construction, it's really not a new trend at all. The core idea has essentially always been here. Did you know that the National Park Service actually notes prefabricated homes were shipped in pieces and assembled all the way back during the 19th century gold rush? What changed over time wasn't the core concept itself, but simply the degree of industrialization. We went from post-war manufacturing to HUD's 1976 federal code right up to the massive $20.3 billion permanent modular market we see in the modern era.
Now, it's really critical to draw a line between manufactured housing and permanent modular construction. They get casually grouped together all the time, but they are fundamentally different businesses. Manufactured housing is regulated by that single national HUD code. Modular construction, on the other hand, is built to the exact same state and local building codes as traditional site-built structures. The big difference is that these modules are typically 60 to 90% completed in a highly controlled factory environment before they ever even hit the road.
And that brings us to the crucial point. The strategic logic remains completely solid. The central promise of modular manufacturing hasn't wavered in decades. By enabling parallel processing, where the factory is building the structure at the exact same time your site team is pouring the foundation, you get profound schedule advantages. You literally eliminate weather delays, you significantly improve worker safety, and you get incredibly tight material control.
Moving on to Part 2, the execution challenge. The seam between factory and site.
So you might be wondering, if the promise is so crystal clear, why isn't it everywhere? Today, modular represents about 5.1% of total U.S. construction activity across the segments it tracks. Yes, it's a $20.3 billion market growing faster than broader construction, but it's still just a fraction of the whole. That tells us modular is definitely no longer a fringe niche, but it's far from dominating the industry. Why? Because the reality is, modular is structurally way harder to execute than it first appears.
The big reason it hasn't scaled faster is what we call the seam. The seam is that messy, complicated interface between factory production and real-world project delivery. Think about it. A module can be perfectly engineered on the factory floor, but if the project wasn't modularized correctly during early design, or if your site readiness lags behind, or if transportation constraints and local jurisdictional approvals aren't sequenced perfectly, well, the whole system just breaks down. Coordinating this full delivery chain is incredibly complex.
And we've all seen what happens when that complexity isn't respected, right? The famous 2021 collapse of Katerra, which was backed by massive amounts of venture capital, serves as a really stark warning to the industry. It proved once and for all that capital simply cannot replace operational and field execution. You cannot revolutionize the supply chain without solving the messy realities of development, procurement, and real-world site execution. At the end of the day, modular is a high-discipline business. Let's look at Part 3, the current market landscape. 5 distinct business models. Let's map out the highly disciplined companies that actually survived, thrived, and evolved into distinct business models. First up, we have the durable regional manufacturers, like Ritz-Craft. Tracing its roots all the way back to 1954, Ritz-Craft really represents the stability of the traditional family-owned factory model, supporting builders across broad residential segments. Alongside them, you've got the large-scale commercial and multifamily specialists, like Gurdon. Founded in 2001 with over 200 successful projects under their belt, Gurdon focuses tightly on complex multi-story volumetric construction for hotels and multifamily housing. They've really proven modular's viability in heavy commercial environments. Then we have the vertically integrated platforms like VBC or volumetric building companies.
VBC has manufactured over 6,500 units by scaling design, logistics, and manufacturing into one unified platform. On the other end of the spectrum, we're seeing newer private label wholesale partners like BuiltWise Structures. They act as this behind-the-scenes production engine, supplying mid-sized regional builders and developers without actually needing to own the consumer-facing brand.
And rounding out the market, companies like Plant Prefab show how prefabrication can lead with custom architectural design and sustainability. They prove that off-site construction can absolutely compete on architectural flexibility and healthier building materials, not just on speed and efficiency.
So what this framework clearly maps out is the industry's maturity. It proves that modular is no longer just some commodity business where everyone does the exact same thing. It is a nuanced landscape of very distinct operational models, each serving specific developer needs and project types.
Which brings us to part 4, MANGAL's integrated delivery model, closing the seam.
Despite all those specialized models we just looked at, the lingering structural question for developers, banks, and lenders remains exactly the same. How do you completely de-risk a project? How do we definitively solve that seam between factory production and site realities so that the financial and schedule benefits are actually realized in the real world? Well, enter MANGAL Modular Construction. Operating out of a massive 150,000 square foot facility in Pennsylvania since 2013, MANGAL is positioned a bit differently. They aren't just another name in the market. They are designed from the ground up as a full-stack project delivery partner. They combine true factory precision with full general contractor oversight.
If you take away just one thing from this explainer, let it be this core thesis right here. MANGAL is not trying to be only a modular factory. It is trying to be a modular project delivery platform. They aren't just dropping boxes on a site and leaving you to figure out the logistics and site work. They are selling a coordinated system designed to eliminate interface risk entirely. And MANGAL achieves this through 5 reinforcing dimensions. First, pre-construction integration, ensuring the modular logic is baked right into the design early on. Second, engineering coordination, tightly aligning code, transport, and site realities. Third, factory-centered delivery. Fourth, a full general contractor wraparound, meaning the exact same system that builds the modules manages the site execution. And fifth, turnkey accountability. It's one unified system connecting the entire process.
What you should take away from this is that MANGAL really has the technical depth to pull this off. They have approved fire-rated assemblies and deep jurisdictional experience. They've proven this model across diverse and highly demanding building categories, from massive urban infill multifamily apartments and student housing to complex hospitality projects and custom residential builds, utilizing both wood and steel framing. Finally, let's hit part 5, the future of delivery, turnkey accountability. As we look ahead to the next phase of the U.S. construction sector, the reality is plain to see: the market is ready. Modular is now highly credible with lenders, municipalities, and institutional stakeholders. The capital is absolutely waiting, but structural fragmentation remains the main barrier to entry. The future of this industry squarely belongs to turnkey models that inherently de-risk the financial and delivery timelines for developers. The factory can no longer exist in isolation. It has to be the center of a complete, reliable project delivery ecosystem.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a critical question to consider. When you're planning your next major development, structuring your financing, and assessing your overall risk, are you going to settle for just a modular factory? Or will you partner with a comprehensive turnkey delivery system like MANGAL Modular Construction? The choice you make at that seam will likely define the success of your entire project. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.